Welcome, everybody. And I can say good afternoon to everybody because we are all in the afternoon hours. Thank you all for taking the time this afternoon to come and join us. I just want to let you know that Debbie Kaner-Goldich was not able to join us today. She's our international president. She sends her regards, but she did have another obligation this afternoon. So I'm going to begin with just a few updates from Women's League that Debbie would do. On the Women's League week, if you notice at the top, there is now a calendar of all the events that are going on. And if you click on one of those events, it takes you directly to the registration. So they're trying to make it easy. If you do not get Women's League week, which lists all the activities that are going on within Women's League and within arms of the movement or other sisterhood affiliates, as we heard earlier, someone from Florida joined Susan's program this morning. Put your email address and name into the chat, and I will make sure that you get on the list. The chat has been disabled so that only chat can come to Toby, Carol, or myself, because we don't want it popping up while they're doing their presentation. So if you have any questions along the way, just put it in the chat. Women's League has an open board meeting on January 19th. So please put that onto your calendars. Personal Conversations is January 20th. Discovering and sharing our genetic information. Torah Fund Stands with Israel is on January 24th. And Adva Vilchinsky, I hope I got that name correct, the Consul for Public Diplomacy at the Israeli Consulate in New York, and Rabbi Ariel Staffenmacher will be presenting that day. Jews in Films begins on January 24th. Women's League reads January 27th. The book is The Last Summer at the Golden Hotel. And of course, I just wanted to mention all of the consulting services options that are available to your affiliate, including this workshop today, mentorships for your members, presidents, and board members, or workshops for your individual affiliates. So that's our latest updates. I'd like to begin, before I introduce our presenters today, with a quote. And this is something to think of and do while you're listening today. Inspiration usually comes during work rather than before it. And that's from Madeline L'Engle. So please keep that in mind. I hope you get some inspiration and bring back this good work to your sisterhood affiliates. So I'd like to introduce Carol Simon.
Renee, I just want to add one thing. There is no Presnet this month, Presnet meeting this month, because the board meeting was changed to the evening. So there is no Presnet, but please sign on to and get onto that board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Toby. I didn't realize it wasn't rescheduled yet. Okay, thanks. So Carol Simon is a past international president of Women's League for Conservative Judaism and is currently chair of the Spaces campaign of Torah Fund. Toby Mazer is currently moderator of the Presnet. Both women have held many other positions in Women's League and are consultants. I'm going to, if you'll give me a minute, I will highlight to you too. And they asked to keep their intros short, which I did. And as soon as I get Toby up, there we go. Thank you.
All right, so welcome. Toby will be sharing her screen, and we welcome everybody this afternoon. Nice seeing so many familiar faces and new faces all across North America. And we thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to go through a variety of job descriptions, and they can all be found on the Women's League website under Sisterhood Administration in the Sisterhood Advisor. This advisor, we encourage, should be shared with all of your leadership. And as we share today, you will notice that we mention, when we go into the slides, president, presidents, or governing body. We're doing this because we know that many of our sisterhood affiliates have a variety of structures which we recognize and Women's League supports. And as we go through our presentation today, think about your own sisterhood. What are you doing now? Is it working? And if not, what would you like to change? Don't ever be afraid to really evaluate your structure, your programs, your events, because that is how we grow and learn. Okay, Toby. And I want to thank my partner in crime here, Toby Mazer, because she put together these awesome slides for our presentation today.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the executive committee and the women who serve on that executive committee. We've taken a lot of the information from the Sisterhood Advisor and then tweaked it a little bit because things have changed, especially with Zoom and the way sisterhoods are functioning today. You need to remember that each sisterhood is autonomous, which means that you can kind of make up your own rules as you go along based on your membership, the size of your sisterhood, and the women involved. A larger sisterhood may be able to make up more teams of women working together, even as on one of the positions on the executive board. But with a small sisterhood, mine is only 25 women. We can't make up too many teams, but that doesn't mean that everybody's input is not valuable. So as we go on, what is the executive committee that we always talk about? The officers and other members of the executive committee all have portfolios, and we will get into that more, of responsibilities. The committee meets at the request of, and here we go, which is what Carol was talking about, president or governing body. So that could be one president, a presidium of a number of women at the top, or some kind of a governing body. We always get the question as consultants, we can't find a president. And this is one of the ways that you can get around that and still have a governing body who acts as the chair. The committee's function is to present recommendations to the board for action. Who are the people who are on the executive committee? Well, right at the top is your president or governing members, vice presidents, communications secretary, which used to be called corresponding secretary, but now because of Facebook and Zoom and everything else, it's become more communication. The recording secretary, the financial secretary, the treasurer, the immediate past presidents, and any presidential appointments. Carol, go ahead.
Okay, so members of the executive committee should, the first thing, as I said, print out the copy of the Sisterhood Advisor from the website to review the sections that pertain to their roles and responsibilities under their portfolio. It's so important to meet with the person that had the job before you so that you can get a historical perspective and collect all information and really just sit and, I like to say, pick their brain for all the little nuances of their job. Review the standards of leadership, which again, you can find on the Sisterhood Advisor, and support your region and Women's League programs. Help convey the message. This is so important to your affiliate members of your region, why you should support the region and what the region can do for your affiliate, Women's League and Conservative Masorti Judaism. The responsibilities of the executive committee: communicate frequently with the president or your governing members. I can kind of expound on what Toby was saying. My sisterhood, we have a governing body. We call it a steering committee. And there are other sisterhoods that are working this way very successfully as well. Consult with your parallel region officers. Really give your executive committee the information that they need to contact the region parallel chair so that they have a partner, they have somebody that they can go to that has the information. Participate in Region and Women's League events and programs. As you can see, we cannot stress that enough because that is your support. Familiarize yourself with the Women's League website. As you heard Renee say, there is so much information. And we have a new Women's League app. It's updated from the one we had several years ago, and all other materials. There's so much available to you that we want you to be able to have those tools at your hand. And as an executive committee member, you will perform other duties as required by your president, presidents, or governing body. So I was just elected to the executive committee. Oh my gosh, now what? What's included in my portfolio of responsibilities? So as parliamentarian, secure a recent copy of Robert's Rules of Order. We really suggest keeping one on your tablet or computer, and also a copy sitting right next to you. So, because that way you can interpret any of your bylaws and advise the president. A parliamentarian does not make the decisions, but should be seated right next to the president so that you have the ability to confer and really get to the meat of what you need to know. Maintain copies of the affiliate bylaws and your policy book. And if you need more information on what a policy book is and what it does, please contact your region parliamentarian. They can help you with that and do a workshop for your sisterhood. You chair the Bylaws Revision and Policy Committee. We really suggest and strongly urge you to look at your bylaws every 2 years to make sure that they reflect what your sisterhood is doing. And remember, bylaws are not supposed to tie your hands, but be a global policy. Facilitate the orderly transition of business and ensure that all members have equal rights to speak, vote, and serve. Toby, you want to do the next one?
Okay. The financial secretary, and this is where it gets a little bit muddled, because a lot of sisterhoods previously did not have a financial secretary, or they had one and that particular woman had no idea of what her position was. So we're trying to separate it out from the treasurer, and this would be the part that pertains to the financial secretary. She is the one who maintains the financial records of the affiliate. She has access to update, and this is so important, the membership data and status on the Women's League database. And this year, we put out a brand new paper into the Women's League website that shows you how to update that database. And you can always call and get more information on how to do that. You don't necessarily need to call Razel in the New York office. Most of the consultants, and many of you, because we're spread all over the country, should know one of the consultants. And if not, you can call your region treasurer and financial secretary to get more information on how to do that. Once you are listed as the financial secretary on that database, then you have access to all the information that you need to update. You receive all the monies from members and the income from sisterhood functions. It's not the treasurer's job to sit there and do that. That is part of the job of the financial secretary. It could come from, if you're having a sisterhood function, you could assign the women who are sitting and checking people in to collect that money, but then it's their responsibility to turn it over to the financial secretary. Keep detailed records and turn over monies to the treasurer. This is where you shake hands with your treasurer and things get turned over. It's going to be up to the treasurer to deposit it, and we'll get into that in the next slide. Arrange dues collection and turn over to the treasurer. And this is just a suggestion, but it usually works for 2 years. Remove any member who has not paid dues for 2 years. And that is after you try to contact that member, speak to her, find out why she has not paid her dues. Did her financial status change? Is she not interested because programs don't speak to her? Find out why a member has not paid dues and has chosen not to be a member of your affiliate past the 2 years. Serve on the budget committee and meet with your membership committee to update the status of all members. In order for you to keep that database up to date, you need to know who all the members are and what their status is. Like I just said, if they haven't paid their dues, we want to find out why. And in conjunction with the membership committee, we can find that out and hopefully retain those members.
And Toby, one other task of the financial secretary is once the database is all updated, and not only have you spoken to members that may have not paid their dues, but then there will be other members that may have moved away, and we tend not to really look at that carefully. And the financial secretary is the one that submits the database is once it's all complete for an invoice for your per capita dues.
And we'll get into per capita a little bit also. The treasurer receives all monies from the financial secretary, records all the receipts, and makes the deposits. Upon receipt of those vouchers, and you must get those vouchers, pay all bills by check, and those checks need to be countersigned by 2 of 3 officers who have the approval to sign, which usually include the president, the treasurer, and the financial secretary. If you choose to have others on there, that's up to you. I think the banks only allow 3 signers, and all of your checks should be countersigned by 2 of the 3. You prepare and present a financial report at each board meeting. It's up to the executive committee to know what's going on and where the money is going, so that it's not all falling on the treasurer's and the financial secretary's shoulders, but everyone at the executive meeting should know what's going on with your funds. The treasurer also has access to the Women's League database and also the president to assist and maintain accurate records. You should order your books as stated in your bylaws at the end of each fiscal year, and you also serve on the budget committee.
Okay, communication, or what used to be called corresponding secretary. We need to realize this is a changing position in this day and age. We can see how our lives have changed in the past 2 years, and the responsibilities of this position has also changed. This secretary is responsible for knowing who needs information mailed and who can access the material through an email or text. Today, we tend to send out flyers, meeting information, event program information via email or text. Yet we really need to be aware of those members in our affiliates that are not comfortable corresponding that way. And the best way to do that is to pair them up with somebody who is comfortable, so that they have a partnership and that somebody is responsible for that member that's not comfortable on technology, getting all of the information. And Women's League Social Action has resolutions on what we can do to save the planet. And this is another thing. We're really trying to do everything electronically so that we're not killing all of the trees. But for you as a position, this is something that either the communication secretary does or can oversee. Thank you note messages should be mailed. You know, in this day and age, yes, we can send off a thank you note really quick or a thank you email. But when you get a thank you note in the mail, it only takes about maybe 3 minutes to sit down and write a handwritten note. And it really means so much more to the person receiving it. The other responsibility is read all correspondence at meetings so that everybody is informed, and maintain pertinent information that should be included in your synagogue bulletin. We know that some of you may have a page in a synagogue bulletin. When Shabbat emails go out, that you may have a section, but the corresponding secretary is responsible for getting the information to the synagogue so that the event, the meeting, whatever is going on, can be included in the either the Shabbat newsletter or the monthly newsletter that goes out. Or if you want to, you can create your own newsletter and post it on your own website.
Technology has made this position change so unbelievably that a corresponding secretary also often needs other people to work with her. One maybe to maintain Facebook or Twitter or whatever sites you're using, and another to maintain the records and the minutes and everything else that goes along with the recording secretary, which comes up next. So don't expect the communication secretary to do it all. Sometimes it gets a little bit overwhelming and she might need a team to work with her.
Well, and you also need people that have the skills to do it. So it's a partnership. Recording secretary. So the recording secretary maintains the history of the organization by taking accurate minutes and keeping records current to prevent any misunderstandings. And it's a record so that you can always go back to refer to the minutes. The recording secretary takes attendance and minutes, as I said, at all meetings. If a meeting is held on Zoom, which most of us are doing, the recording secretary is the one that needs to ensure that the participants rename themselves. So you're not mom's iPad or number 23456. So that way that the recording secretary can take the minutes quietly and making sure that all the spelling is correct. She can also request that all committees and teams submit reports 3 to 5 days prior to any meeting. And this is to ensure accuracy and to make her job easier. It's so much easier for recording secretary to have the report right in front of her so that she can take notes on what she has in front of her and of any discussion, but this way she gets it all. And it's really a much more accurate way of keeping the minutes. The recording secretary then sends the minutes to the president or presidents or a person on the governing body that has been identified to receive them no more than 2 weeks after the meeting, so that those minutes can go out with the agenda and any committee reports for the meeting coming up. And the recording secretary maintains the policy book. And that's all records of all motions passed with date and subject information. And a little word about a policy book is that that is what you do, what your like minchag is. If somebody passes away, who gets a card, who gets a fruit platter, who gets something more or something less. So it's a way of making sure that what you do is written down so that years later, people know what the protocol is. It's not that it can't be changed, but this way you have an idea. Okay.
Okay, vice presidents. And you can see there's very little written here, but it applies to a large number of people. A vice president is responsible for overseeing the activity chairs assigned to her by the president. You communicate with those chairs on a regular basis, and this is so important. Communication, communication, communication. It's like when you're buying a house, it's location, location. Well, running an organization efficiently depends on a lot of communication. Make sure that those chairs receive updated portfolios. If the position has changed from one administration to the next, make sure that the new chair understands what the position is. And understand how the board works and communicate with the president in the event she's not able to fulfill her responsibilities. We've had it throughout the years. Unfortunately, a president may pass away or end up in the hospital with some kind of illness. And in today's, I don't even want to mention the word of what we're dealing with right now. But if the president can't do her job, then one of the vice presidents needs to step up and be able to do that. So everyone needs to communicate to know exactly what's going on and no one is caught by surprise. This is a very old sisterhood organizational structure that consultants used for a very long time. And the reason that I'm putting it up is because it gives you an idea of the vice presidents that you may or may not have, and which activity chairs are under them. Okay, so if we're talking about a vice president for community service, you know that public policy and someone dealing with disabilities in Israel and world affairs comes under that. And that vice president is responsible to keep in touch with those women. And it goes on and on. I just want to show you an idea of what it's like. I know a lot of women are sitting here right now saying, well, where's the vice president for Torah Fund? Because we've always been told that that should be a vice president. Yes, no, it depends on how your organization is working, how your affiliate is working. But it's definitely in here. It's under administration. So this is just a idea of how things get divvied up. On the right side, the president, there are the positions that are on the executive committee in addition to all the vice presidents. So I'm not going to dwell on this because I don't want you to say that this is the end and you have to use this. You do not, but it gives you an idea of where you're going.
Okay, and if you could go back to that slide, Toby, there's one that nominating committee, which we haven't identified specifically, but I'd just like everybody to know that your nominating committee is just not to be set up to identify nominations or work on the nominations for the next administration. Your nominating committee should be put together at the beginning of an administration. So just in case, as Toby said, somebody becomes ill, somebody moves away, that it's the nominating committee's job to find a replacement. It's not the president, it's not the president's, nor is it the steering committee. It's really the nominating committee job. So just ensure that at the beginning of every administration, your nominating committee is put together so that they can do their job throughout the administration. Thanks, Toby.
Thank you. Okay, now we get into the president, Presidium governing body. And we need to list it as all three because we don't know what's working in your sisterhood. A perfect example is that there is a sisterhood within the United States, actually, who has a president a month. Now, I think that's a little overdone, but some affiliates have presidents where they do 3 months at a time. So they would have 4 women in the position. Or they might set up a governing body where one woman is in charge of going to the synagogue board meetings. One woman is in charge of handing out the gifts on the bima for a bar or bat mitzvah. One is in charge of running your board meetings. So it could be any combination of the above, so that if you say, I can't find a president, and a lot of this will be covered in the February meeting that hopefully you also signed up for when you signed up for this one. And it'll give you a bunch of different ideas and how things work. So back to, and I'm going to just use the term president, and you know that I'm talking about all three. Your role as the Women's League affiliate president offers many rewards and challenges. Yes, there are both. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are a lot of rewards. And if you wake up every day and say, this is going to be a good day, it helps. You will motivate, inspire, coordinate, supervise, encourage, and lead your sisterhood to success. Does that happen every day? No. Should we strive towards that? Always. And I found this, I'm going to give you a little secret here. I found this quote on a piece of paper inside one of my fortune cookies. And it was more general, but I read it and I said, wow, you know, that's exactly what we're looking for in our leadership. A leader is a woman you will follow to a place you wouldn't go by yourself. I don't want that job. I can't do that job. Well, a leader, a real leader, will help you understand that yes, you can do that job. To effectively lead, you need to prepare for the challenges because there will be many. There's also a lot of good things that happen. Know your affiliate bylaws and other women's league materials. Like Carol and Renee mentioned at the very beginning, the website has changed. And I know myself, and I'm fairly familiar with the website, but lately, every time I get on, something is different. I went to get on the other day on my phone, and I noticed that the picture had changed because it automatically updated to the new Women's League site on my phone. And that's what's happening with the Women's League site that you sign into each time you get on. Meet with members of your executive committee to discuss objectives, goals, and strategies for the year. Remember to work together. You should not be a micromanager. We talk about teams and we talk about committees, and I like to think that Women's League works more as a team. A team gets an idea from the president, something that she would like to see done, one of her goals for the year. But then it's up to the team to tweak that and change it so that it becomes doable, not necessarily step by step for what the president wants you to do. Join the online Women's League president. How can I not put in a plug for me? An online discussion group for affiliated presidents. We've been having monthly meetings of the president, and I know it's difficult because there is so much information this year coming out on Zoom from Women's League that all of our different arms of Women's League have been given a specific night. The president meets on the third Wednesday of every month, except for this month where we're not going to have it. And it's difficult for some of you. You have another board meeting, you have your child is in the chorus and there's a program that night. But for the important meetings that we have been recording them so that you can go back. The other thing is my phone is on 24/6. My computer is on 24/6, and you can always either email me, call me, send me a text, say, I need to talk, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Meet with your predecessor to benefit from her experience and practical knowledge. It doesn't mean you have to do everything the same way she did. You are your own person and you have the ability and the knowledge to change things to make it the way that you would like to see it. But your predecessors have that experience already. They have the knowledge of how your sisterhood functions and your affiliate functions. And it's important to get that information from them. If you're sharing the leadership position in a presidium or a group, divide the responsibilities and determine the logistics. And again, here, communication is the main topic. It has to be, especially if there's more than one person in that position. You need to communicate with each other and know what's going on.
Okay. And what Toby said about communicating, it's not just communicating between the 3 or 4 presidents or the steering committee. Everybody within the synagogue community really needs to know who is responsible for what within your organization, so that when the executive director or the clergy have a question, they know who to go to. I'd also like to add something that Toby mentioned about teams, because we all enjoy working together. And remember, the team means together, everybody achieves more. So a lot of times Toby gets a question, and I know I used to, about what's the difference between a team and a committee? Because so many people just don't want to take that responsibility of leading. So really the difference is a team, everybody is equal and everybody works together. A team, you have somebody that could be the chair. And so many times a lot gets done with a group, and eventually somebody does kind of rise up to the top and say, okay, I will chair. Otherwise, they all divide up the responsibilities. And it's a lot of times you'll get more people working together. Instead of somebody saying to you, how many times have we heard, oh, I'll do that. I just don't want to be in charge. So it's a way of getting around it. And the other thing that to add to what Toby said is that remember that each of us brings our own strengths to a position. And success in your sisterhood affiliate as a leader is getting the right person in the job and utilizing their skills, their talents, and their passion. And even though you think you know everybody within your membership, it's really nice as a sisterhood president to sit down and really talk to people and say, what are your, people have hidden talents that we don't know about. People have passions that we don't know about. And for you to get the right person in the right job makes your life so much easier.
Okay, so now we're going to flip it. It's not so much what's going on in your sisterhood, but what does Women's League ask of you as an affiliate? Keep your membership list up to date through the Women's League database. We get phone calls all the time that so-and-so in our sisterhood is not getting the WL week. And part of that reason may be that on your membership list, there's no email listed for that person. And they would need to go in and change that so that everyone gets it. Paying per capita on time. Well, today is January 9th. Per capita is due on January 10th. So I'm hoping that all of your affiliates have mailed in the checks to the New York office. And we know how much should be coming based on what is on that membership list. If you have women who belong to two different sisterhoods, are both of those sisterhoods paying per capita, or are they just listed on one so that they get all of the information, but only the per capita is paid one time for them? Anyone who is considered a lifetime member or has been given titles and you think that they don't have to pay per capita, your sisterhood is responsible for that. Participate in the Torah Fund campaign. Anytime you get on a Zoom, you will see the consultants, the executive committee of Women's League, and 99% of us are always wearing our Torah Fund pins. Yes, the pin is the same as the last one. But what's happening this year because of that, a lot of women are going through their Torah Fund pins, picking out ones from years past and wearing those. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as we keep continuing to make our donations to the campaign. And you're also expected to contribute to Women's League, the Masorti Women's Project, the Days of Study, Women of the Wall projects, everything. Carol has the Spaces Project. So there are so many things. Somebody might say, you know, you're nickel and diming us, but I can't think of a better place where I would want my money to go than to a group of women who support us and are always there for us, whether we're kvetching or kvelling, which is my mantra for the Presnet group. We all have good days and bad and need another woman to talk to, and there's always somebody. We have 111 women on this call right now. Some of them are your friends, some of them you've never met. But let me tell you, when you get to a convention and people are running up to each other, and especially in 2023, because we haven't seen each other in so long, it's a feeling that you just can't get past. Okay.
To effectively lead, you need to accept responsibility. Understand, though, that you need not be without assistance. As you've heard both of us say repeatedly, Women's League in your region is always there for you. You can pick up the phone and call any one of us, email us, and there's so much information. Renee is in charge of consulting services, and she can help provide you with a personal mentor. I always used to like to say a personal trainer for not only you as a president, but for any of the positions that we've talked about today. Or you can have a seminar for your affiliate specific needs. Being a leader is something that will make your life enriched. It will grow, make you grow. And as you can see, so we have become sisters throughout North America because of our affiliation with Women's League. And you know that we are all volunteers, all of us, each one of us, and get to know each other. And the goal is to always have fun. And there's our information, both of our emails and both of our contact information. Okay, Renee, would you like to open up the chat?
Okay, well, the chat has been open to me,
Okay.
and I do have some questions, but if anybody else has other questions, either go put it into the chat, or you can raise your hand using the reactions at the bottom. There's a raise hand function, which will put your name at the top so we can see who is asking the questions.
Okay.
All right, so one question was, is the board the same as the executive committee?
Okay. Yes and no, and that depends upon the structure that you have for your sisterhood affiliate. Many times it's the same. Some affiliates will have an executive committee, and one of the things we didn't go to, which I think Margie and Cindy will probably go into, is what's the minimum you need for leadership for an executive committee. You heard us say president or presidents, or a governing body, a steering committee, whatever you decide. But basically after that, it's the treasurer and a Torah fund chair and a recording secretary. All right, so that is up to you. And again, we recognize that structure that Toby showed is like utopia. You know, it's great, and we acknowledge those affiliates that have that many people that can fill positions, but that's not what we can all do. So that's really, I know I'm being a little vague, but really it can be different. So it's vice presidents and the executive committee is what we explained this morning, but that can also be your board. And it's also part of what you have in your bylaws, which is why we say to look at your bylaws every 2 years so that you can ensure that what you're doing is going accordingly to your bylaws. Who asked that question, Renee? May I ask?
It was Michelle, I think it was.
Michelle, I know that.
Michelle Kunzman, yeah.
Okay, Michelle, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Good, okay.
And then you just mentioned, which was another question, that if you can't have a treasurer and a financial secretary, it can be one person that is handling that. And some of those jobs some of those responsibilities be passed along to other people that they do other than the actual check writing and deposits and things.
Right,
Okay.
and there are some affiliates that will have a financial team. So it's a financial secretary, and then they would have a few other people taking care of different parts of the job or take on different tasks. So it's a team approach.
Okay, and can somebody else be assigned to be a data manager if the financial secretary? Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing that we didn't include, and we apologize for that. But there are many sisterhoods out here now who have assigned someone specifically to deal with the database. And that person's considered a data manager and has same access to all of those lists on the Women's League site that the treasurer and financial secretary and the president have. So yes, there are a lot of them out there who make it a data manager and can take care of just the database.
Okay, and then on that same line, are you seeing the chats there now? Okay, one from Marcia. It's, I've been a member of many sisterhoods and they use the treasurer to both collect funds and deposit funds, and the financial secretaries keep track of the membership dues. Is there a reason for that, for the separation? Or is it just what their structure allows?
Yeah, it just sometimes makes it easier to split the responsibilities between two people. For one person to be the treasurer and always be in charge of everything that's have to worry about what's coming in and getting to the bank and writing the checks and going to the post office and whatever, it can become somewhat cumbersome. So to split it between those two women, or to make some kind of a financial team, so that, you know, not one person is overwhelmed. The thing you need to remember is we are all volunteers. We're not getting paid to do this job. And I don't want to be overwhelmed having to be the one person who's got to do it all.
Okay.
Renee, we
Then-
have 3 hands raised, I see.
Okay, yes, and we have some questions in the chat too. There was one earlier, it's more a comment, but maybe you can address it. Some people don't want to renew their membership until they can return in person, because you had mentioned something about that before, about renewing memberships and per capita due. Do you have anything to address that, or?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just that you may not be meeting in person locally, but Women's League, it has so much to offer as you started this session, Renee. And that is what we really need to share with our members that say, I don't want to pay my dues until, you know, we're in person, because at this point, you know, who knows when that's going to be, but they can still participate. And I think the easiest way to do that is to really have a conversation and then just keep sharing all of the emails and things, the information you're getting as far as all the programs, and not just the programs in your own region, but the programs throughout Women's League, the different regions. I know I'm attending a region event in Toby's region on Wednesday, you know, so there's so much available, classes and everything else, that there's no reason why there's something that can't be of interest. But I think the biggest piece of that is you really need to personally share that information with your member.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to alternate between a hand raise and a chat question. So Susan, would you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Yeah, I actually put some questions in the chat also, but I'll ask them because I sent them to Carol and Toby instead of to you directly.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the new sisterhood president next year, and I've actually only been involved in sisterhood for about 6 years now, and I've been a vice president without any specific role. I've had different things that have been under me, so to speak, but we kind of operate a little less formally, I would say. We do have a lot of these roles, but we don't, to my knowledge, have a parliamentarian position on the executive committee. Is that something that most every affiliate has?
We encourage it. I mean, Toby, you know, you work with the sisterhood presidents, but it's encouraged only because that way, if there's any, you know, spirited conversations, there's somebody that can manage that.
Right.
And there's somebody that, you know, if somebody's making a motion to make sure that it's, you know, that it's kosher and things like that. So yeah, I
actually have a lot of experience with parliamentary procedure, being a long-term board member on the League of Women Voters. So we operate very strictly on Robert's rules and so forth. So And would that parliamentarian though necessarily have to be trained? Is there like a training available for that person?
And that's what you would go to the region parliamentarian.
Right, right. We
so
do
I
have
know a
one
lot
of
of the
those.
Right, I know a lot of the regions are doing, training of every position
Good.
on the region level as well.
And that's also available once I become president, if I want to do something like this with one of the consultants, right?
Absolutely,
For the other positions.
absolutely.
Okay, what
And
else?
Mazel Tov.
Now, nominating committee is another thing that I don't remember anybody ever formally setting up. I know when I was called to be asked to be president, it was all the previous presidents that were together, and they were making calls to get a new board, a new executive committee. So I love the idea of a nominating committee, but is there anything specific as to who should be on the nominating committee?
Not really. You want somebody that's been on the executive committee or a board member. You want an odd number, and you want to make sure that there's representation from the general membership. I can tell you on, the Minchag for Women's League is that the past president is the chair. But that just depends upon, who you have, who willing. But the most
Right.
important thing is what I brought up before, is that
Right.
typically nominating committees are put together in January, February, March, just to, nominate the new administration. But really, the nominating committee should start with the new administration.
Right, I agree with that. But there's nothing specific in the bylaws that defines what the nominating committee is comprised of.
You have to read your bylaws for your affiliate and see what. it
Oh,
says there.
Which I've never seen those either, but okay.
Okay, well, there are model ones available online if you cannot find them, but you should read those first.
Sure.
And that will
Okay.
tell you what you need.
I'm going to have a lot of questions going forward, so I really
Well,
love.
we're around. We're
And
around.
you're
Okay.
on behalf of
All right.
just throw out a question.
But
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
also Susan wrote in the chat, does the immediate past president always serve on the executive committee? And that it didn't happen in your sisterhood. But yes, the immediate past president should be on the executive committee. She knows what happened before. And this way it'll save time if you have questions for her to be there and explain why something was done in the past.
Okay, but it doesn't always work out that way, just.
No.
So it's okay. All right, so from the chat, if a member is a member in two different sisterhoods and cities, does per capita get paid twice for that person? I think that's
It does happen.
Right.
If you're listed and both sisterhoods list you and you pay dues to both sisterhoods, then yes, what'll end up happening is that both sisterhoods would then be paying your per capita from the dues that you paid. But what many women are starting to realize is that it's being paid twice. So what they do is they recognize one of those sisterhoods as their primary sisterhood, and the other sisterhood does not list them on their membership list.
okay. All right, and then can you address the fact that, wait a minute, where does social action fit into the executive committee, or is it just the board? And it wasn't on the chart, and I had noticed that too, that social action, social justice, where might you put that?
It kind of goes in with the community service portion, where your Israel affairs and your world affairs person, public policy and advocacy, that's all social justice.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
So it would be, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and if you don't have all those positions, it would probably come under education, programming education, because a lot of sisterhoods don't have that bandwidth to have what Toby was mentioning.
right.
So
Okay,
you have there's flexibility, there's no one right way. So just keep that in mind, that there's flexibility.
Okay, thank you. Shula, would you like to unmute, please?
Mute,
Okay.
yes. Hi, nice to see you, ladies. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know, I may have overlooked or didn't hear properly. Did you have anything about the membership VP? And what is the role of the membership VP vis-a-vis the database?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll start. So the membership VP usually is the part of a membership team. They'll plan a membership event. They'll make sure that there are all kinds of things going on. If you have a new member come in, they may be the ones that the synagogue notifies that there's a new member, so you can welcome them. You can bring them challah and wine for the first Shabbat. Those kinds of events for acknowledging new members, acknowledging people that have not been active, and getting a group together to communicate with them to find out why they haven't. So it's a little bit different than the database. The database is strictly just making sure that your list is up to date for per capita. Toby?
Okay, so they don't have any role in deciding on the per capita, how many people are, that's strictly the other the financial secretary.
Correct. That's strictly black and white. It's your list of members, people that have paid dues to your affiliate. And then, so that it can be sent in to Women's Lake to pay the per capita.
Okay, so I have to look into that because I don't think anybody's monitoring our database. So my other question was, I'm a life member at a different sisterhood. I never checked on the per capita if they are paying for me or not.
As long as you're covered by one sisterhood, that's all you have to worry about. As long as one of your sisterhoods is paying your per capita.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is a little bit longer of a question from Linda. Can you address the fact that, with all due respect, there are few, if any, younger women on here? How do you suggest we get the younger women to join? We've tried so many ways. They are a future. And also, their affiliate is a line item on the synagogue budget. So if they aren't able to bring in newer people, which is a membership question, which I know we have had workshops on it, but did you want to address that? It's a two-part question.
Yeah, it really, well, all right. So my personal thing is, I know we all want younger women. Is there a magic bullet? No, there really isn't. There are some communities where there are large Hebrew schools, and you're part of a day school and religious school, and there's community there to connect to, and the sisterhood affiliate can support things. But in all fairness, the way I look at it, I like to take the word younger out, and we just want more women. We really, we don't want to discriminate. We don't want to focus on one age. And we just want more women. I know that may not be the answer you're looking for. Toby, maybe you can come up with something better.
Not really. Looking for new members, you need to get creative sometimes and just look around what's going on in your synagogue, in the different programs that are going on. Look around and see if there are women attending some of these programs that are not part of your affiliate, and just have a conversation with them and ask them why. If we go back to what's happened in the past 2 years in Women's League, We used to have a few Zoom meetings here and there, you know, if you needed to talk to somebody in New York and you were in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and couldn't get together and just didn't want to do it over the phone, you would have Zoom meetings. Well, that's been completely turned upside down, standing on its head and looking every which way possible. We've developed so many programs and groups and activities. In the Sisterhood Advisor, there are 2 pages that show what are your interests and what backgrounds do you have. And those 2 papers, different sisterhoods use them in different ways. But the biggest thing with those papers is that if you do send them out electronically and have women fill it out and send it back to you, please don't just stick them in a file. Look at them and see what women are looking for. Are they looking for Mahjong groups? Are they looking for young mother groups where they can discuss their concerns raising children? Is there a group for widows and people who are older and alone now? People are always looking to connect with other people. And what we need to do with our membership team is put the word out there. If you're interested in starting up a group of women for any topic, we can do that. We can get together. The only thing we need to stay away from is politics. And that's because we're a tax exempt organization and we can't get into that. But we can do getting women out to vote, those type of things, like League of Women Voter type of things within our sisterhoods, just to get them out to vote, as long as we're not sharing the politics end of it. So, find what people are looking for. Do they want Mahjong? Do they want canasta? Do they want who knows what? And, exercise groups, yoga and just general exercise. Find what is speaking to them, put it out there on your own sisterhood newsletter and say, hey, listen, we're thinking of starting a group for XYZ. How many of you might be interested? And then what would happen is once you start some of these groups, they're going to bring in outside friends who may or may not be sisterhood members right now, but have the potential of becoming members. We want to reach out to all women. As much as I want to do things with all kinds of other people, I feel very secure and happy that I have a group of women that I can rely on. We understand each other, and even if we don't, we're open to listening to each other. And that's so important. I think, with the right approach, you can really build your membership through things like that.
Thank you, Toby.
If I
yes.
can add, just as Toby was talking, I was thinking of a couple of different things. So if you have a synagogue where there are younger women, start a Bubby program or a Sapta program, go into the preschool and read to the kids, because that's one way that the parents will know a little bit more about the sisterhood affiliate in your congregation. One synagogue I know, people like to drink, so just have different events, like, I don't know, sake in the sukkah, so, come up with something cute. And there was one congregation that had a restaurant around the corner from the synagogue, and this was days when we were doing Hebrew school in person, but they would sisterhood sponsored, like a social hour during Hebrew school. They would supply some snacks and drinks were on their own, but they got people of all different ages. So there are different kinds of things. My suggestion would be there is the, I'm trying to think of it. There was on the website, somebody please help me, all of the 124 pages of programs. And it's on the website, and it'll come to me sooner or later what the name of it was. But there are ideas, there are membership magnets, there's just so much information. And if you take the time to look through it, something will spark a thing in your brain. You can tweak it and, ask people to participate. The other thing is, if you know somebody of the younger generation, just sit down and talk to them and see what would bring them into the congregation.
Okay, thank you. We have a
Thank
lot
you,
more
Barbara
questions.
Esring. Barbara Esring reminded me, the sisterhood planner. Thank you, Barbara.
Yes,
Senior moment.
yeah. Okay, yeah, there are a lot of other questions here, but first there are a lot of affiliates where they are a line item in the synagogue budget. My suggestion would be to make sure, A, that the synagogue staff and the synagogue board supports any fundraising activities you have. And B, if membership is changing, that you renegotiate the amount that you can pay to the synagogue every year. Okay.
Renee, and if possible, make it not just a line item, but that it goes to something very specific.
Yes. Yes, that's also a great idea. Okay. Ruth, did you want to unmute?
Yeah, well, two things. I do have a question about nominating, but in reference to the discussion on membership, our synagogue offers 1 year free sisterhood membership to any family, any couple or unit who joins the synagogue. And our sisterhood pays their per capita to Women's League so that they get on the Women's League database right away. We've been fairly successful. I would say that about 50% of those people end up joining sisterhood on their own the next year when the dues bills go out. We've had a very successful membership drive in the synagogue. We have about 25 new members who have joined our synagogue since the fiscal year began in July. And all of those women are now on our sisterhood mailing list, and their per capita was paid to Women's League. So they will be getting Women's League information, even though we didn't get dues from them. Getting back to nominating, as past president, I'm the chairman of the nominating committee this year. And we have a particular problem because we have not been anywhere near anybody in the last 2 years. In the past, we've looked around for people who came regularly to sisterhood meetings, or came regularly to classes, or came regularly to services, and approached them and asked them if they wanted to join the sisterhood board, because we do have board positions besides the executive committee positions. And we usually ask those people to work with a particular vice president. But this year, we haven't seen anybody. We haven't spoken to anybody. We don't even have a way of getting, our bylaws call for 3 members from the general membership and 3 members from the board, besides the chairman on the nominating committee. We can't even round up 3 members from the general membership because we don't know who they are. They don't know who we are, and they wouldn't even begin to know how to look for someone. So it's really a particular problem this year. I've just put together a few people this morning. I just sent out some emails. We're going to try to have a meeting at the end of the month. But it's very, very challenging right now to try to involve new people because we haven't seen them. They're just names on a piece of paper, and we don't know their faces. We have Zoom services on Saturday morning, but you don't know everybody who's on Zoom. And it's different from meeting them in person. And you could go up to them at a kiddush and talk to them. It's particularly challenging this year. And I'm just wondering if other sisterhoods are finding it the same.
I'm sure they are.
Yes. Toby, if I can just say, I do know of some of these affiliates that have passed policies to keep in place the exec committee board for a year until they see what's happening. So that is one option if people are willing to do that, or if you want to do that. But okay, Toby, if you want to.
Through one of those sisterhood surveys that I mentioned before, if you're going through them, you may have someone on there who has been a treasurer in another organization and might be willing to work on a team to manage all of the treasurer's positions for a year. From that, you may find that someone that you haven't even thought of is looking to serve on an executive committee. They may have retired, or the kids are off to college and now they have a little bit of extra time, or they just moved to the area and want to meet other people, and they're looking for some way to connect. So have different Zoom meetings within your sisterhood. We're looking for people to help us on the executive team. Would you be interested? Please join us for a drink of your own choice on a Zoom call one night, and let's talk about what we're looking for as the executive team, and see if you can get some people to volunteer. It's just getting really creative. And sometimes I just lay there and say, what would I do? And I come up with the craziest ideas, and some of them become things that we're able to do, and some of them go into the garbage pail. But just keep looking.
So Ruth, I have a question. Have you been doing any sisterhood meetings via Zoom the past year or two?
We have, and we have not had very good attendance on Zoom. Our board mostly comes to general meetings, but we have very, very few other people. And as a matter of fact, a number of our programs we have felt are so interested. We've sent out an invitation to the entire congregation through our e-blast and Zoom, not only to the sisterhood data membership list, and we one or two maybe, but we've just not been very successful in getting. I have some people who say they don't want to do Zoom and they won't do Zoom.
Well, and in your congregation, that might be an issue, that people just don't want to do Zoom. But one of the things that Toby mentioned, several sisterhoods I know have done like small groups, coffee and conversation, cocktails and conversation, and if you get 5-10 people on, that would be a perfect time to talk about this with them and see it, kind of don't leave it on you, bring it out to the broader membership and say, do you know of anybody? Because they may know of somebody that you don't.
Okay, thank you. We have, let's go. Well, Sherry, your hand is raised. I'm going to finish out the people raising hands, then we'll go through the questions in the chat.
Thank you. My name is Sherry Cohen. I am actually president-elect for Temple Beth Shalom, so next year I will be president. I've been involved for many years. Switching just to the younger membership idea, which is not my question, but Shana Galco, who was a student and a child of one of my friends and a member of TBS, is an associate rabbi in Las Vegas, and she did a wonderful piece that you could find about getting younger people involved. And the number one thing she said is asking them to do something. And I am very lucky and somewhat scared that our nominating committee just presented a slate. And I would say most of the people are brand new and younger, which is really great. But, I'm a little bit worried about missing some of the older ones. And it's because we asked. I picked up the phone and said, oh, Abby, would you consider helping out on this? I don't have enough people that know how to do this specific thing. And they say, of course. So if you ask for a specific task, that really helps. My question, though, and why I really joined this session was we are using JOT forms. We use Zoom and we use PayPal for our payments. I think we are a little bit ahead of the curve. When COVID first hit, we started having a program a week for sisterhood, for whoever could join, which is wonderful. And we've done some in person and some via Zoom. My concern is, where does controlling Zoom fall? Who should have access? Controlling the PayPal account, controlling the JOT form. Like right now, I have been doing most of it, not all of it. I'm slowly training other people how to do these various functions. But I really think, does it fall under corresponding secretary? Does it fall under recording? Should each of my vice presidents be responsible for knowing how to lead a Zoom session and spotlight and highlight people or control our discussions? So that's what I thought this meeting was going to be about. Can you address any of those issues and where they would fit in?
We can address everything. Right, Sherry, between all of us. So personally, I would say that, your treasurer, your financial team would be the one that would be in charge of the PayPal. That, to me, that just makes perfect sense. As far as the Zoom, you can have a consultant come in, work with people so that everybody that's on your board, on your executive committee and board, has training in Zoom and how to spotlight and how to do a whiteboard and all this other thing. I can tell you that I can speak for myself and a few others on this call. At the beginning of COVID, when we started on Zoom, we were comfortable. Women's League had been doing it for a while, but all the nuances, getting ready for convention, we all had training. So, and Women's League can provide that. But instead of having one person in charge of everything, divide it up as you're starting to do now, where it fits best under your structure. So corresponding secretary, yes, that could be part of the corresponding communication secretary's position, is overseeing a team, and each person in the team is responsible for another piece of it. First of all, you also want to cross-train just in case somebody's internet is not working or somebody is not available, that you have multiple people being able to do the same task.
And I don't know whether people are using Jot form. We have found it's a very easy way to do our registrations without people handing in a form and mailing the form in, and we accept our payments over Jot form. And again, where does that fall? Like, who should officially be responsible?
I mean, Toby, you can step in. The other thing my concern would be is all the other members that are not comfortable with that kind of platform, that are not comfortable using PayPal or Venmo or some, any platform like that. So that needs to also be covered as well.
Right. We have 11 members who do not have emails, and we send them in writing information and we have a telephone number. So we are attempting to take care of that.
Yeah, as far as the financial end of it, I would also contact your region treasurer. And if you need the international treasurer, Marsha Strongen.
It's also part of the purpose of this workshop today, which I have in my closing remarks, is that you take this information, you see what things are absolutely necessary to have, and then you tweak it so that it fits for your affiliate. You may need 2 people to work on Jot, maybe somebody to create the invitations, and somebody to collect the registrations. You may need 2 people to work on the financial end of it. It depends on what works for your group, but you see the minimum that you should have, and then you work from that, and then you find the right people, as was said earlier, to fit those positions. And yes, we can help you with the training, especially on the Zoom. Women's League has a Zoom chair that works on helping affiliates train on how to do all of that. All right, does that help?
Sherry, I would add one thing. I would suggest that since you have so many new board members, to have a board orientation for your sisterhood, and Renee can have a consultant work with you on that as well.
Right, we are planning on that, hopefully in person. But again, I just didn't know where the responsibilities lied and whether we should update our bylaws with our job descriptions to say this responsibility really falls under this position.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, some of these things are so new, you really need to start, as you are using them to figure out for your sisterhood, for your affiliate, where it best fits. Because where it would fit for you may not fit for somebody in Florida or New York.
Right. Okay. So thank you. We have a lot more questions and I know we have about 10 minutes left. So if we can go through these quickly. Does a member of a region board or international, we're international, just so you know, board always have to be allowed to sit on the sisterhood board? What is the best way to make sure that someone doesn't stay on your sisterhood affiliate board for life? So
Term limits.
Yeah, term limits. Yeah,
and bylaws.
and what we
And
said,
some- Sometimes it's very difficult to ask someone to step off of the board. You could say, ask them to help train future leaders for that position, just in case, or because we're, trying to update into 2022, or any
Okay,
way you want to do it.
Toby,
But yeah.
if I can just say, this is somebody that's on the board as a result of being on the international or region board. So they don't have a position necessarily. So that's why you can address it in your bylaws if you want to have term limits in there.
right?
I had asked that question, and it's somebody who they're as our women's league rep. And it's in our bylaws that they are automatically on our board. And we can have as many women league reps as we want. We have several.
Okay, but everybody on your board should have a responsibility. They should have a portfolio.
We have a position just called women's league rep.
Okay, so
yeah, but that's the person.
right. It's nice to have somebody that's a women's league representative so that they bring the information that's coming out from the international office, from the region, to share with all your members. But I would say you really just need one person to do that. And I mean, I can, yeah. I don't know where to go with that one.
Well, no, you can ask a different person for the next term to fulfill that position. So that's something you'll have to look at your bylaws and see what it states and see if it's something that really needs to be changed and then go through the process. You can speak to the international parliamentarian or your region parliamentarian. They will be willing to help you with that too. Okay, and if you need any of that information, I put my email into the chat and I can connect you with anybody in Women's League that you may need. Okay, so does every single check have to be co-signed, or can we put a limit that all checks over $100 must be co-signed? The comment was it's also a checks and balances by having two people sign. Yes or no? Can you put, Toby, your region treasurer?
No, I don't remember something like that coming up. I know that the president and I, both have a debit card, but if either one of us is going to use that debit card, we speak to the other one first. So in some respects, that's our checks and balance for it. But
Co-signing
I don't know
a check?
if there's any limit. Maybe that's something that can be put into your bylaws or your policy book, that the person with that ability has a certain line that they can go up to for emergencies. But I don't ever remember hearing about any kind of limits.
I think that with COVID, it's hard to get two people to sign a check. It's hard to get one person to get the checkbook and sign it. And that's probably where that's coming from. Yeah, again, policy, and you can also check with the synagogue to see what their policy is too. If you are under their financial guidelines.
And if you use their tax ID number.
Yeah.
And part of the multiple signers really just protection so that nothing happens.
Right.
Nobody
Okay.
abuses the funds.
Okay, Ruth asked her question. The president appoints the parliamentarian. Best choice is a past president was a comment. Are formal minutes done, and how is the approval process formulated?
Formal minutes need to be done for historical purposes. And typically the process is the minutes go out with the agenda for the next meeting. And then the president just asks if everybody approves the minutes. And it's the board's responsibility to read them carefully before the next meeting.
Right. Okay, thank you. Somebody asked about becoming a life member. That is something that had been done a long time ago by sisterhoods, and that is no longer an option. So sorry about that. It's nice of you to consider doing that.
Don't encourage it.
Okay, and this is a Torah Fund question, and Barbara, maybe you can answer it if you're still on. As I understand it, you can be listed on 2 different sisterhoods as a paid member, but if you give a donation to Torah Fund, it can only be from one sisterhood. Well, if you're listed on 2 sisterhoods as a paid member, they have to each be paying per capita for you. Otherwise, you won't be listed as a member on the database.
I can answer the question.
The Torah Fund question. Thank you.
Question. Okay. Now, when you make a donation, you can put in the name of especially if you're online, you can put in the name of the sisterhood that you want that money to be credited to, and it will be. You might need to send if you're a regular donor to Torah Fund, you might need to send a note to the Torah Fund office to let them know that you've made a donation and it's being credited to your other sisterhood, to give the name, because otherwise when they're processing and they recognize your name, they'll just put it in the way it's always been. But at this time, you can designate the sisterhood to which the credit will go for your donation to the general fund.
Okay. But it can only be from one sisterhood. You can only designate to one sisterhood.
Only one sisterhood per donation.
Per donation.
I can make a donation and have accredited to one of my sisterhoods, as long as I write in the name. When I make the online donation, I give the name of the sisterhood, and I can do the same. Then I can make a second donation to my other sisterhood and have accredited to my other sisterhood.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. And let's see. Okay. Somebody thinks that the issue of new and different generations is an important issue to discuss and not just gloss over. My suspicion is this is impacting many sisterhoods. And I think this has been addressed in a membership workshop previously. Margie, you're part of the membership committee, and she's nodding her head yes. And maybe we should do something again about have another.
We could do it every 5 months. I mean, it's a topic that is an endless question. It's on everybody's mind. There's never a meeting that someone doesn't bring it up. So even though we did it, we'll do it again. And if this group is saying do it again, we'll do it again.
And
Okay.
Margie, can you let people know there are some where to find it on the website so that they can listen to it?
I don't know if she'll take my question. I have my hand up.
Okay, if you check on the, it should be under membership. If you go in the members only section of the WLCJ site and check under the membership icon, the recording should be there. If not, let me know and we'll find it for you. Okay. All right, and Barbara, you made a comment that Temple Israel and Charlotte got younger women involved. Is Jen Koss still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, did you want to mention one or two ways that you were able
Yeah,
to-
and sure. And I had written this in the chat to someone, but I think finding what excites those women. You can set out a survey, you can maybe get a group of them to figure out what it is that they want, to engage in the sisterhood. We find that people want to come and do an activity and have a social time together, and to be with their friends. And so a lot of us join the sisterhood activities to do that. We did a survey at the beginning of the year, and we include all of that stuff in it. What is it that you're looking at to get out of your sisterhood? And our membership has been doing a really good job of having like some small group get-togethers, like over a coffee at a coffee shop, or maybe at a wine shop, someplace. Young adults, young women like to drink wine, so provide the things that they want, in addition to in your activities. In the age before COVID, you have a nosh, maybe you have like some kind of a drink or a wine, that you offer. I don't know, it seems to have attracted, some of the ladies in our town. So that's what we've been doing. We offer a variety of hands-on activities and programs. We've made Kippot. We have something coming up where it's like a twist on making challah bread. We have baking kind of activities every once in a while when people like a hands-on, activity to do and come together. We made nosh boards, if you know what, like charcuterie, but you can't call it charcuterie, at the temple, it's a nosh board. And that was really cool. So that's another way of finding like the strengths of your participants, and using them, because most of this is led by other sisterhood members, or maybe they know somebody that they can bring in, from outside to lead one of these events. And that's what we've been doing, and it's been working for us, and we get really good turnouts.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, and in line with some of those ideas that Jennifer just shared with us, somebody wrote in that they do belly dancing and hula hoop, and whatever happened to bring a friend, and let's see, and somebody asked what JOT was. It's an online registration platform. Okay, and some people do have the $100 limit. Some people pay their bills online. And as far as there are bylaws, and people are, as somebody asked about standing rules for more fluid issues, that would be the policy. So you can pass some policies that will work for 2 years, and it's going to change in 2 years because of the situation. So you don't put it into your bylaws, or if it's for a one-time event. Okay, and Onshai Torah Sisterhoods Board is made up of women mostly in 30s, 40s, and 50s. Congratulations to you. That's very nice. And intergenerational aspect is always a plus. So that's all the comments I have. I thank you all. First of all, thank you to Carol and Toby. As I said earlier, go home, tweak this information on the job descriptions and some of the other topics that came up, and see how it'll work for your group. Consulting services is always here to help. I just want to add one program announcement. There will be a Women of the Wall program on January 30th. So please be sure to add that to your calendar. Eileen Rubin, who is chairing that event, is on our program. Thank you for reminding me, Eileen.
Thank you.
The program will be posted online, and once it's edited by our group. If you would like the slides separately, a few people did ask me early on, and you can just email one of the three of us, Carol, Toby, or myself, and we will get the slides to you separately. Just want to add one more quote. The only difference between success and failure is the ability to take action. So please go home and take action based on what you've learned today. whatever it may be. And Toby and Carol, do you have any final words?
Just have a good time. And thank you for your time today.
Just know that somebody's always out there to help you if you need it.
We are here all the time for you.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate all that you did today, and thank you to all the participants from all around North America.